Hey everybody, welcome back from spring break. I hope this video finds you healthy, safe, and well rested. We're going to pick up right where we left off, and by that I mean we're going to talk a little bit more about Henry VIII. So, where we left off last time, Henry had just executed his third important advisor, Thomas Cromwell. He would shortly thereafter execute his fifth wife, Catherine Howard. He would then marry again Catherine Parr. He liked women named Catherine, and she would outlive him. His son Edward would become king. Edward dies while he's still a teenager. There's a plot to make Edward's wife, Lady Jane Grey, the queen and rule through her, but plots like that to end very poorly for young women in Tudor England, and Lady Jane Grey does not make it. Princess Mary becomes Queen Mary. You might know her by the nickname Bloody Mary because Mary was a Catholic and she'd had enough of these Protestants that had been hanging around for just a little bit too long, and she started taking them out left and right. But Mary never had children. It's that same curse of the Tudors that we see over and over again, the lack of a healthy heir, a healthy male heir in particular. Mary dies and the crown falls to her sister. That is the daughter of Anne Boleyn. She becomes queen. She is a Protestant, so we flip things back the other way, and the Protestants are basically reclaiming England for the rest of the Queen's life. That's Queen Elizabeth, sorry. So the rest of her life, they are swinging back towards the Protestant. Elizabeth dies, and she has no heirs. So the crown falls to a distant cousin of sorts, that is King James of Scotland, who now becomes King James of just about friggin' everything. So James is on the throne. James is around for a little while, and then we have a guy pop up whose last name will certainly sound familiar, even as his first name is a little bit off. It's been quite a while since Thomas Cromwell died. King James is gone. We're now on King Charles I. We have the English Civil War, and the guy going against the king, his name is Oliver Cromwell. Yes, he's a distant relation of Thomas Cromwell, the advisor that Henry had executed. Oliver pays the British crown back by killing King Charles I, outlawing the monarchy, and taking over the country for a little while. But as we know, there is still the Queen of England. That's because Charles I's son eventually came back after Oliver Cromwell died and reclaimed the crown and went on to reestablish the monarchy. So you can have a king, then not have a king, and then have a king again. And that is something that should concern you right now. And that's because look at all the things that we've tried to teach you this year. I did say try, but all these things that we've tried to teach you and how they're all coming back around right now. One of my favorite lessons, one of our earliest lessons this year was Plague Day. We literally gave you those masks that you now have to wear everywhere, and we had you wear them around our classroom. We gave you gloves, told you not to touch your faces. Remember that? And we talked about how we didn't really know at the time what caused the bubonic plague, and that it could have been hundreds and hundreds of years before we figured it out. And that the plague would come and go and kill millions of people all across the world, and that was spreading in a time where people didn't travel that much. And now we're all sitting here at home listening to me because there's a pandemic going on. Right? Those masks that I bought for $4 back in September, you could get $30 a pack for them right now because everybody needs them and nobody has them. And the extras I had are locked in the closet at school, so I don't have them either. But we taught you about the plague because we wanted you to understand that there was a very realistic chance that at some point in the near future, and we weren't thinking this near, at some point in the near future, the world was going to have to deal with something like that again. Not the same thing, not going to be as bad, but something that's bad enough in our own right, and something that you now know a little bit about. What did we teach you after that? We taught you about, does man have free will? Or is everything predetermined for them? And right now, as you're stuck sitting at home, you're feeling like things are awfully determined for you and you have no say in the matter. But here's the thing, all over this country right now, people are defying stay-at-home orders and they're going out and they're protesting. Are we for that? Hopefully not. But these people are exerting their free will. They're not letting anybody tell them what to do. But I think they're going to find out a little bit too late that the world is going to kind of set their road for them. Because some of those people are going to get sick. And some of those people, they're not going to make it. So is it free will, or are they just following the path that was always laid out for them? And that brings us to another question with Locke and Hobbes, is man naturally good or is man naturally evil? Should man be able to rule himself? Or does he need a strong central authority figure? Does man have to give up that power, give up those natural rights to follow the rule of a king? In countries where they have a dictatorship and they can tell people, you stay at home. If you don't stay at home, we're going to come lock you up or we're going to take you out because we're not going to let you hurt other people with your silliness and stupidity. In countries like that, they were able to curb this thing pretty quick. It got out of hand after, but that first step of exerting control over the populace was something dictators were able to do, all right? Because they have absolute power. And in a situation where they have absolute power, people have to follow their will. Otherwise, bad things will happen to them. Whereas here, we spent weeks asking people nicely to stay at home, say, hey, do the right thing, be smart, don't go out unless you absolutely have to. And there's still people out in the parks playing ball and people taking walks and people going to get tattoos and get their hair cut and things that aren't really essential if you think about it. So the question of, is man capable, is man smart enough to rule himself? Well, I don't know. Have we got an answer to that in the last few weeks? And another thing, we talked a little bit about absolute power, and we talked about this very recently with guys like Augustus Caesar and Genghis Khan and Henry VIII. We talked about how absolute power corrupts absolutely, and how we in the United States live in a type of republic. And if you remember, in a republic, the power lies with the people. And the actions and labor of the people are to enrich the people, to help the people, to benefit the people, not to benefit the leader, not to benefit the guy in charge. But in a monarchy, in an absolute monarchy, everything the people do is to enrich the people at the top. It's to enrich that king, that queen, that emperor, whatever it is. Everything that the little guy does is to make the big guy stronger and wealthier and better. And we have checks and balances in this system, right? Because we, the people, have the power. But then you see the President of the United States. The President of the United States of America, Donald Trump, standing up at a press conference last week and saying that the President of the United States has absolute power. He has total power. He has the power to do whatever he wants. And a man with a microphone, a reporter, sat there in that audience and said, where does it say that in the Constitution? Because it doesn't. He knows it doesn't, because he paid attention in history class when he was in high school. This isn't a monarchy. The leader doesn't have absolute power. The power lies with the people. Everything that's going on in the world right now is related to something that we've taught you this year. Because we're not just teaching you about the past, we're teaching you about the present, and we're teaching you about the future. So from Plague Day to Locke and Hobbes to absolute monarchy, it's all coming to fruition right in front of you right now. And as we prepare to read one of my favorite plays, William Shakespeare's Macbeth, you're going to see these themes reoccur over and over and over again. Tomorrow, Tuesday, I expect to see you in our meeting room. It'll be posted in Google Classroom. It's not going to be Zoom anymore. We'll have the new meeting program posted. Be there for our introductory lesson on William Shakespeare. Complete this Ed puzzle. There's a second Ed puzzle giving you a little bit more information about Shakespeare so you don't come in completely blind. And then for the rest of this week, we're going to be taking some notes, getting familiar with the characters in Macbeth. And then next week, we are reading and acting the tragedy of Macbeth. I'll see you then.